Okay guys, if you've been a subscriber to my channel for a long time, you know that I like to visit restores and Goodwill stores in my area to look for great deals. The other day I walked into a restore and found everything you see right here. This like new condition, Garrett GTA 500 metal detector. Knowing how good Garrett metal detectors are because I owned a GTAX 1000 as well as a GTI 1500 in the past, I asked the lady behind the counter how much it is, and she told me we don't have any batteries to test it, so if you want to have it, it's yours for $10. I was like, wow, $10 for this? I'm like, alright, I'll take it. And I figured, even if it doesn't work, I could take it and sell it for parts on eBay and get more money back than I paid. Or, if it works, a metal detector in this condition, which is like new, would have a value of around $250 to $275 on eBay. When the metal detector was brand new, it was sold for around $450. I also came across a brand new set right over here, I'll show you up close in a minute, of reflow tips, which happens to fit perfectly on my hot air reflow unit. And I came across this vacuum suction pen. On the way home from the restore, I stopped and picked up 8 AA batteries to put inside the unit to try it out. As soon as I put the batteries in and turned it on, it actually turned on, which was great, but I noticed the coil was not detecting anything, and the battery was showing that it was very low when I had brand new batteries. So something was not right with the unit. So what I ended up doing, I took apart the entire control housing, which I'm going to show you in a minute in this video. I'm going to completely disassemble it, show you all the boards up close. I disassembled it, pulled all the boards apart, hoping that there was just a bad connection, and then I put it all back together and tried it again. Once I did that, I turned on the power again, and I still had the same problem. And I was like, uh-oh, this is not looking too good. So the next thing I did is I disassembled it one more time. Inside, you're going to see multiple boards. I think there's 4 of them in there. And they're all held together with pin connectors, multiple pins, like almost like a pin header, pushed into a connector. And some of them have gold-plated pins, which are in perfect condition. And one board in there did not have gold-plated pins. So I looked at it under my magnifying microscope, and I noticed that wherever the pin was making contact with the connector, there was an area that was eaten away, probably from current flowing through there, and moisture in the air. So what I ended up doing is taking that apart, and then I cleaned all of those connectors using a pencil eraser until it was nice and clean. I took a Q-tip with 91% rubbing alcohol, wiped everything down, put it back together, and guess what? Total perfection. The unit works great. Let me turn it on and show you how it works. Alright, here's a look at the control panel. Turn it on. And over here you can see the battery strength, 4 bars. This unit allows you to have full discrimination. So if you lose an earring, what you would do is you would take the other earring, move it across the search coil, and it's going to show up somewhere on the top up here, more than likely by the gold, by the pull tab, or the silver. And then you could check off only that box and 1 on each side. So when you start metal detecting, if you come across other things, it's not going to alert you, but when you come across the exact same thing or something very close to what you're looking for, you'll be alerted by the metal detector, and then you could use the pinpoint function to locate it. This one has 2 modes because it's an older unit. The newer ones have 3 modes or 4 modes. So if I switch to this right here, last mode, now you can see it's only going to be looking for certain things. Other things are missing. You can also move like to there, and then I could put discriminate on, and that lets me find that if I want it. So you could actually adjust what's there. You don't have to use what they show you. Go back to there. I can adjust the audio, the depth. Now the depth is incredible. You can find a quarter with this unit down to around 10 inches using the 8.5-inch coil. I have a Minelab metal detector, and I also have a homemade metal detector. If you haven't seen it, it's very cool. Over here, circle with the eye anytime during the video, and you can see how to make a very simple metal detector. The entire unit from scratch, control housing, the rod for holding it, the search coil, all of it. And that one will find the quarter down to around 7 inches. And the only thing with that one, it's going to locate just about everything in the ground. You're not going to have the discrimination of this unit. So now I'm going to take a quarter, move it in front of the search coil, and it should show up right over here where it says quarter, or close to it. And you can see quarter right there. I could take a dime, and it should show up a little to the left of that one. It says penny and dime right here. Penny should be a little bit more to the left of that one. And you can see it comes up there. Copper pennies will come up a little bit more to the right where it says penny. And zinc pennies will come up exactly where that one just showed up. Now let me take a nickel right here. Right under the word nickel. And if you had a pull tab, it would show up under pull tab. And that's how it works. Once you find the object, you push pinpoint. And you move the search coil until it gets louder and louder. You find the right spot, and then you dig it up. Great, great metal detectors. And you don't have to go out and spend a fortune on the new GTI 1500. I think they have a 1350 or 2500. The only difference really between this one and the newer ones, they'll go a little deeper than this one using the same 8.5-inch coil. Or I think it's a 5x8 they use now. It's an elliptical. And you also have a little graphical display below this that'll give you an idea of the size of the target. I had the GTI 1500 and I found just as many great targets using this one as I did using the GTI 1500. Let's take a closer look. Let me open this up and show you what the unit looks like. Okay, very simple to disassemble. On the back side of this box right here, there's 3 holes where the Phillips screws went into, goes through the back of the box and into the posts on this piece right here. I also had to take off this nut and 2 washers from the connector in order to slide it out of the housing. Now the power goes from the battery pack, which is right here. I'll take that out in a minute. And it's supplied to this unit using this telephone cord, the same one that you would see that goes from the handset to the telephone. It's just coiled up inside this tube, and the reason why they used it is to allow you to slide this piece off and have the room to extend it without pulling on the cord. Over here, the 2 outer pins on the outside edges, that's the power supply, and the 2 pins in the center go to the speaker inside this unit right here. If you don't have the headset plugged into the jack on the very end, what's going to happen, power will go from here to the speakers. As soon as you plug a headset into the jack on the very end, it disconnects the speaker and it uses the headset. Let's take a closer look over here. Here you can see the incredible condition of the control assembly. No scratches or anything else. Let's flip this around. See multiple boards. The lower board is for the liquid crystal display, and the flat cable goes over to the membrane switches on the front of the panel. Then you have 3 single-sided boards. Let me pull one off at a time so you can take a closer look. The 2 potentiometers you see right here are used for adjustment, and if you look at the back of the housing, there would be 2 rubber plugs or plastic plugs. Right there you can see them. 5-pin connector for the search coil. Very nicely designed, I must say. Lift this side off. And this side here. Okay, disconnected that level. Very simple to replace a board if there's a faulty board. You send this to the factory, they probably swap out boards until the problem's corrected. A lot easier than having to test each board, all the components. Now the bottom board has the microprocessor on it. Lift this up. Over here is where the power is plugged in using the cord. Microprocessor. This over here is a MOSFET, probably used to drive the coil, the pulses into the coil. Take a look at the back, nothing. And over here, you unscrew this and you have access to the LCD screen, which is right behind here. Now what I think I'm going to do, I want to add a backlight, because if I want to use this at night, it would be nice to see what the display says. So I'm either going to insert a backlight strip along the bottom edge, lengthwise, of the LCD screen, or, which might even be better, is add a strip, a very thin LED strip, one of the cob LEDs, and this way if I put the light on the outside, a very thin one, it'll illuminate the whole display as well as all these buttons. So I think I'm leaning towards doing that, and then I'll put a waterproof switch, push on, push off, on the side of the housing, which would be over here. If I decide to do that, I'll make another video showing you how it came out. Now let's take a look at the battery box. Here's a closer look at the housing. Garret Ultra. Speaker. You have a clip. And over here is where the headset would be plugged into the unit. And two battery compartment doors right here. Slide one out just to show you. Two packs like this, operating at 12 volts, 6 and 6. Here's a rail that the battery pack slides onto. There's the coiled wire. And it plugs in right here. Okay. Very nice design. And here's a closer look at the search coil, Supreme Deep Seeker. Connectors in perfect condition. Looks like gold-plated contacts. No damage at the cord restraint here. And the wires in perfect condition. And there's the bottom. You're now looking at the vacuum suction pen. Electrostatic discharge safe. The body is made out of aluminum, the end's plastic, the button's plastic, and the tip is metal. You have three different tips for the end. That's a larger rubber tip, medium, and small. These extra tips are stored in this end of the unit. You unscrew here, place them in, tighten the cap. How this works: when you push this button down, you're going to be squeezing the air out of a silicone bladder. It's going to be pushed out the tip. When you let go, you're going to have suction on the end of that cup. When you push the button again and hold down, it's going to release. Let me show you the inside. Alright. And there you can see it. Very simple design. And what this is used for is for holding and positioning surface mount devices such as integrated circuits. So right over here, say you wanted to position this on a board in preparation for a hot air reflow. So what you would do is choose the correct tip. This is the largest, which fits perfect on here. If this was a very small one, then you could use the very tiny one right there. Push the button down, go over the center, and release. And it holds the chip perfectly. It will not fall off. You won't have to worry about getting oil from your fingers on the leads or even the risk of an electrostatic discharge. Position it on the board, hold it, let go, and that's it. You want to reconnect, push this down, and there you go. Push the button. Then you can manipulate it around a little bit with the boot. And as simple as that. An extremely useful tool to have if you're into electronics. I'll place a link where you can pick these up at a reasonable price in the video description area. One thing to note when you get yours, I had a problem where there was an air leakage between the metal and the plastic. And as a result of that leak, when I would pick up the integrated circuit, after about 3 seconds, it would lose a suction and fall down. So the solution was to pull this metal piece off, put a thin film of clear silicone, slide this back on, and let it dry overnight. Once I did that, the vacuum was held perfectly and never leaked. Okay, let me show you the hot air tips. And this is what they look like. I have the larger square, medium, small round tip, and a medium round tip. Each one of these tips will clamp onto my hot air reflow gun, depending on the component that I'm working on. If I was going to be removing this one right here, what I would do is use the larger tip. This would be positioned directly over. Once it gets hot enough, I'd be able to lift this off the board, or I could just do a reflow in the event one of the pins was not making good contact with the board. And that is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, if you'd like to pick up a deal like you see in this video, you're going to have to visit your local Restore or Goodwill store.